Today is about peeling the onion back. So I always call you an onion, right? Because you have to peel you back one layer at a time.
Yes.
So we're gonna peel back the onion.
Oh, great.
And let people get to know PJ.
Which PJ?
The you PJ.
PJ, not JP?
Not JP.
Okay.
So who's JP? Why don't you since you brought that up?
Well, JP early on was my alter ego in sports, in running, and then of course when you turn 21, JP comes out often late at night. And then JP really for me became this alter ego of a salesperson, right? Like really understanding how to sell, to frame a story and why, whether it was hard goods or soft goods or services. Like I just got really good at understanding. We used to play a game. A car pulls up, you got to tell if they're like a serious buyer or not, right? Like, and I got really good at so that was JP.
Okay.
Alter ego.
So go back to the sports PJ. What'd you play?
What didn't I play? I was like the jack of all trades, the master of none. I think the my first love of sports was skiing. So I grew up in Silicon Valley. Lake Tahoe was 3.5, depending on traffic, depending on snow, like 3.5 hours away. And so I remember being able to ski before I could run. So I could go really fast on skis, but when you took them off, I couldn't go as fast. So I literally, I could walk. I think I walked that November or December, and that winter I got on skis, and I was
so you're like under 2?
No, I was 3.
You were 3, okay.
But I mean, literally, before I could walk, I could walk, I couldn't run necessarily. Right?
Okay.
Me in between my dad's legs. He was on some 1970s sticks, and I just fell in love. At Yosemite, where kids still can ski for free, and you can still get free ski lessons. And as I got older, my parents didn't even wake up in the morning. They were like, "Get yourself up, go to the cafeteria. You got all the food you can eat. Get on the bus, go up to the mountain. We'll see you after lunch." So.
Okay, so skiing, and then what?
Well, then I grew up in the era of Michael Jordan, so I had a basketball hoop attached to my house. We had a 2-story, the second story was over the garage, and of course, I grew up in a neighborhood in East San Jose, California, and basketball was the thing that everybody could play because there was always a public school or a park. All you needed was a basketball, and so fell in love with basketball. Thought I was meant to be, and then I stopped growing at 6'1" and realized everybody else kept growing to 6'5", and
I hate it. That happened to me too.
Yeah, I mean, I truly loved the sport, and I remember also the week that I just let it go completely, it was over.
Why?
Because there was, I don't know, there was 9 of us trying out for our high school varsity team. We played freshman and JV, and then we were trying out for varsity, and there was 2 spots. So 9-2, and I didn't make it because I was white and short and hadn't trained as a shooting guard. And so, right, so I just cold turkey.
So you quit?
No, I didn't quit. I remember clearly I had fallen in love with the sport for so long, for a decade or more, right? And it was over, and it was over in a good way, right? I'm not saying I quit. We still played a couple pickup games here and there, but it went from 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours a day, 7 days a week to almost nothing.
Okay. So then what?
Well, funny enough, a bunch of us tried out for varsity volleyball. It was a new men's sport at our school, and we were all freshmen, and so it was I don't know. I think there was 11 freshmen that made the team because it was the first There was there was no competition necessarily. It was like, who wants to try out for men's volleyball? I was like I've kind of played it. I don't know. Like, I'm sure I could pick it up. And a lot of friends that I had when I went to high school, our girls team won California state champion 3 out of 4 years that we were there. So like the girls program like dominated California. And then here comes the men's program. And so I have a lot of really good friends from volleyball, and realized there again quickly that I was 6'1", had a great vert. But when you get to college volleyball, everybody is like the smallest guy on the team is 6'5", and can jump out of the gym.
So what do you think I was just having this conversation with my kids this past weekend, because they're in the midst of all the sports, right?
Yep.
And I was just relating so much of what happens in sports to what happens in life.
Absolutely.
So
teaches you incredible amount.
Yeah. So now, like, fast forward, you own a real estate team. Mm-hmm. What do you think that your sports experience all growing up, how does that relate to what you do now?
Well, number one, competition, right? Like, and that shows up on every personality profile for everybody on our team knows it. Competition, number one. Like, we're going to be number one, or why even do it if we're not going to be number one? Number two, that sense of team, right? Like, we're only as good as the sum of us collectively. Like, no one person, especially in a team sport, right? Like, even take somebody like a Michael Jordan or a LeBron James. They can't win an NBA championship by themselves, right? Like, it is impossible. Now, in skiing, you can actually, that was kind of the fun thing, right? Like, it's you against you. But anytime you're in a team setting, it teaches you so much, right? Like, I don't know. I'm on the spot because I haven't had a good chance to think about this, but you know,
that's
like
the point.
Picking each other up, supporting each other. I was always like, I don't know. I was always a leader. I just showed up. Like, if you or I are going to do something, I'm going to do it a little bit better, and I'm going to show up because I do it just a tiny bit better, I'm going to show up as a leader, and I'm going to encourage you to get a little bit better, and so on, right? And so just so many things about a team that somebody's has something going on personally, and you know, it can blow up at practice or on the court or wherever, right? Like, it just prepared me to be in that setting.
So you talk about in sports, there's, you know, a lot of individual sports where it is you versus you. And then there are team sports, and you chose to start and build a team. Yeah. So why?
Well, I figured out pretty quickly that I didn't love all aspects of real estate. So team or no team, like admin support and leverage on the things that I don't enjoy. I had a lender sit me down when I was kind of going crazy and trying to do it all. And he said, right, like, it's just a simple exercise. Excel spreadsheet. Green work is the things you enjoy and their money-making activities. Red is things you don't enjoy and non-money making activities, right? There's a lot that goes on in the background of real estate. And so I think first and foremost, it's leverage. And then secondly, like, I relate it a lot to nonprofit work too, right? Like, if I'm going to join a nonprofit, I'm not there to help one-to-one. Like, I only have so much time and energy. And if I'm working with a nonprofit, I want to 10x. I want to bring 10 people with me on that journey, because all of a sudden we can do that. And it's the same in real estate. Like, if we want to serve this community at a really high level, well, as an individual, you can only do so much. I can only serve X amount of families before I get burnout. And then am I really serving that family, right? I also enjoy helping people, loving on our agents and seeing them go from when they start to 90 days in, to 6 months in, to a year in, to multiple, like that compounding effect. We get to help. It's a fun business where our end customer, our end client, we're helping in the dream of homeownership, whatever that looks like for them. But we're also helping an agent who is our customer on a team, grow into this amazing business person that gets to serve that many families, and then collectively we get to look back and say, wow, right? Like we've had the opportunity to serve 1,000 families in Brevard County. If I was by myself, how long would that take me? So I just want to speed it up too, I guess.
So if you had to choose one thing about our industry, about real estate, that was your favorite, like what is the best thing in your mind about real estate and being in the real estate business?
One?
Just one.
I mean, it has to be that people, right? We are helping people through building wealth, right? Like at the end of the day, if you own a property, your net worth is significantly more than if you rent that property. And you can get into the business side, right? Like the crazy stuff where these really high level individuals are like, your company should lease most of your houses, right? Like that gets into something that's crazy. But at the end of the day, like helping people build net worth is something that's exciting in real estate. And I think it's the only industry where you can build wealth and put 25% down, but grow on the total asset, right? Like,
right.
I was thinking about it this morning because I'm trying to talk to an individual who's a financial planner, right? And I was kind of going through this framework of like, our industries maybe go head to head a little bit, right? Like if I have some money, where am I going to park it, right? Am I going to park it in a wealth planner where I get to give them their money? They invest it for me. They move things around. They do what they're supposed to do, but I got to give them 100% of their money. And then we have real estate. And so it's almost like the Super Bowl or World Series, right? Like some years the stock market crushes real estate. Like if you can park your money, make 15%, and I don't have to think or do anything in that world other than talk to my planner every 90 days and say, yeah, let's pivot here. Let's do that. Like, that's fantastic. And yet the World Series or Super Bowl over the last few years in real estate, like you give me 25% of a $400,000 house and I'm going to turn it into a $600,000 house, and $200,000 is, sorry, financial planners, like we're changing some lives.
Yeah.
I don't know that we can keep up the pace, but.
So you mentioned crazy a few minutes ago. So what is the craziest thing that has happened to you in your career? Crazy real estate story.
I don't know. I mean, crazy real estate. There's so many. There's, I don't even know where to go here. Hundreds and hundreds.
Crazy client, crazy situation, crazy house.
I got so many. So I just actually, the only reason this one actually does come to mind is that I was just talking to somebody in our office about this, right? Like, we're listing their home. Wife works from home for Health First, right? So she has she's got to be on point, right, when she's at home. And an agent had called or texted, I forget now, saying they wanted to set up a showing for later that afternoon, like 2:00 that afternoon. Great, shouldn't be a problem. She thought that meant that she confirmed the appointment, but we have, showing time and all, like, you don't just text an agent and say, yeah, can I show the house at 2 without like really confirming it, right? Like it should have some sort of process. And she didn't. And she showed up in the house, and I happened to be relatively like 10 minutes away. She showed up to the house.
So this is an agent.
This is an agent with her client.
Agent with the client shows up at the house.
Opens the ALB lockbox, the blue lockbox that we all have, and starts showing the house. And the client's like, hello, like, who the hell is in my house? And so she starts freaking out, like not thinking that it would be
a showing.
Yeah, right? Like just thinking somebody just broke into my house. So she calls her husband. Her husband calls like his 2 cousins who also live on the street. And by the time I get there, the sheriff's department is there. the two cousins who look like, the only example I have is like Duck Dynasty, right? Like these dudes came in like camo with huge beards and 12 gauge shotguns. And of course, everybody's freaking out because they walked in the house like slide ready to go. And the clients are like, we think we're here for a showing. Like, our agent confirmed this, right? So that was a fun one.
Did they buy the house?
They did not buy the house. I think the shotguns in Duck Dynasty scared the bejesus out of them. Like, I don't think there was any coming back from. You just think you're on it was all the way around. It was kind of a cluster. I got another crazy one. Showing a house, same day, same Saturday, showing a house to a lovely couple. They're actually, I found out yesterday, I called them, and they're moving back to Louisiana. Their daughter was 2 at the time, 2.5. Every house we went in, she loved to close every door in the house, right? Just a kid thing to do. So she walks around the house, she closes every door. Well, she closes the primary bedroom door, and it locks. And she loses it because she can't get out. Well, mom and dad start losing it because they can't
get to her.
They can't get in. And so you have this like 5 minutes of her just losing it. And luckily enough, I had a coat hanger from a dry cleaner, and we like rigged the door, popped it open, got her out. She had, of course, pooped her diaper. Because she was freaking out, right? Like, she's in this room, empty. Thank goodness it was an empty room and all this stuff, right? Like, there wasn't a dog or a cat in there as well. All these things are racing through your mind as you're trying to rig the door. And so, normal. 2-year-old poops her diaper. We got to, like, pause, and we're now late to the next showing, of course, right? So we're trying to figure that out on the fly. Well, that evening, I'm showing a client a house in Rockledge. So I went Palm Bay to Rockledge, showing the house. Her dad was upset that she was using me and not his preferred agent. So the entire time he's going around bashing the house, doing all this sort of stuff, like grilling me, telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, she should be using this other agent. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with this guy. Well, he goes missing for like 15 minutes. We finally figure out that he's in the bathroom and he pooped himself in the bathroom. No diaper on. So in the same day, we come into this world and we go out of this world the same way. Like, 2-year-old poops, 80-something-year-old man poops, and I was like, that is karma, right there, right? Like, that's a great
How
one.
did you turn this question into poop? Is what I want to know. Why am I not surprised about that?
Today we're talking about poop.
Okay, so we're on a lighter note. Okay. So if you had an afternoon, because I know you rarely take a full day off, but you have a whole afternoon off.
4 hours off in real estate is an entire day off.
So what are you doing? Where would I find you?
In Florida?
In Florida.
On the golf course.
Awesome.
I mean, if I have any time, it is on the golf course.
That is not what I thought you'd say.
Well, true. I know where you're going with that. Like, golf.
I'm not surprised, and that is not what I thought you'd say.
Here's why. Because I was thinking about all of these crazy situations, the question before, right? And so golf enables you to hit a tiny little ball as hard as you want sometimes. So there is some tension released when you can hit a golf ball as hard as you want, and you like envision like it's that situation, and then I just like destroy the ball and try to destroy the ball.
Half the time when I see you after you've left the golf course, though, you're frustrated.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no doubt.
So there's that.
I tell people all the time, like, I pay to do this to torture myself in golf. The first, like, 2 or 3 holes are frustrating because you're like, you don't got the swing lube, right? You haven't figured it out. And then the next few holes are fantastic. And then the next few holes are just terrible because you're like, why can't I hit this ball that doesn't move? You know, like talking about basketball or volleyball or baseball, all these sports that I love, like the ball's actually moving. Golf is like, everybody's quiet. You just have to sit there and focus and hit a ball that doesn't move. And sometimes you still can't do what you're like actually aiming to do, right? So I know where you're going with that, though. Like, I think if I had an entire day off.
I didn't say that.
If I had an entire day off. That wasn't the
question.
I'm going out on the intercoastal. So.
Okay.
Just side note.
That is what I thought you would say.
That is my my outdoor release, that's like more of like, there's often I'll just, if I did have an afternoon off, like jump in a boat and go park it out in the middle, as long as it's not windy, park it out in the middle of the river and just relax and enjoy, So.
Okay, rapid fire of random PJ likes and dislikes. So, favorite color?
I have to tell my daughter blue, so I'm going to go with blue.
Favorite color?
It's probably still blue.
Probably still blue. Okay. Favorite food?
Tacos, no doubt.
Um,
Real tacos, too. Not this Tex-Mex Americano. No, real tacos.
What kind of taco? What's your go-to?
I mean, if I'm going to rate a restaurant on the quality of their food, it's an asada taco. No onions, cilantro, and your hot sauce. I'll tell you right there if the rest of the menu is even worthwhile.
Okay. Favorite sport? To play.
Well, see, I don't like, now it's recreation, but it's still skiing.
Okay. Favorite sport to watch?
Ooh, boy, football, I guess. Like, I don't watch that much sports anymore. There's no time. And yeah, I mean, if the Niners are playing on Sunday, I'm trying to figure out how to at least catch half of the game.
Favorite season in Florida?
Fall.
Why?
Gets a little cooler finally. It's like coming. It's reminding me that like Florida isn't a sonic oven. Like coming out of the summer, like when it actually starts to get cooler, I enjoy it.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains all day long. Not even close.
So I like this question. I ask it a lot when I'm interviewing folks for our team. So we've talked a lot about why a team, and we haven't talked a lot about where you are right now and where you're going. So if we were sitting here a year from now and we're talking about what a great year it's been,
Yep.
What does that look like to you?
I would say it's we call it like the 7 circles, right? Or the 7 pillars, right? So well-rounded in business and financials and health and wealth and spiritually and in our relationships, like where all of those have lived up to a 7 or 8. We can't use 7, so an 8. And really just intentional and hit our goals, right? I think we set some pretty audacious goals, and so we're sitting here a year from now celebrating. We've hit those goals, and yet that's why I bring up first the 7 circles, because you can hit all your goals in business and be miserable in the background, right? So if I'm truly excited, it's in our relationships, it's in every aspect of life.
So I've been watching obviously I see your social posts every day, right? First thing in the morning, you're out.
PJ's infiltrating those feeds.
So, what is the health goal? Where's that going? We're on day what? Today was day.
I didn't work out today because I was up till 2, and I've actually built that into, like, I'm allowed to take 2 days off.
Yeah.
So pick one. Sometimes it's Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes it's Wednesday and Sunday, right? Like.
So your yesterday was day
49, and yet interesting because everybody thinks like, oh, you're on day, and this started in November for me. So I'm getting close to like day 75, and it was just that I wasn't working out, and I was realizing that it was starting to affect me, and I was using, well, my daughter doesn't sleep, I'm up all night, I can't get that done. I was using
excuses or results. You can't have both, right?
Yeah. And so funny enough, I said, well, in the military you had PT tests, And when I was in, they've changed it now. You had to run 2 miles and do as many push-ups and sit-ups as you could in 2 minutes, right? And so I was like, well, that's a good barometer. I can always hit that workout as a minimum, and I can do that 5 days a week for 52 weeks. And so it roughly gets me to 250. I just wanted to feel better. There wasn't like, oh, I want to hit this weight. And
so there's no end goal.
There is an end goal. The end goal is to do it consistently, right? Like,
and do you feel like you're there?
No, that's the funny thing. 75 days in, and I'm still like, yesterday was one of those days. I was like, my feet hurt, my ankles hurt, my knee. Like, you go through all of this stuff.
You are a big baby.
Yes, I am. And there's just some days where you don't feel like it. Like I was telling you, I was like, I felt like I was 80 years old in the first probably 1,000 feet. I was like, just put your feet in front of each other. I don't care what it looks like. Like it looks like this glorified walk almost, like like I'm just out there. And then it's like, okay, now pick up the pace and pick up the pace. And funny enough, like it is funny to me that, you know, you like mentally fight it every morning. And I do a good job of like, here's my clothes, here's my like, I don't have to think. It's get up and go do it, right? And you're mentally fighting it. Like you're mentally pulling back to that comfort zone. And then I get a mile in and I'm like, I can go for 4. You know, it's so weird to me that like I fight it for an hour and then I'm an hour in, I'm like, I can go for another 2.
So what makes you get up? Why do you do it?
Because I said I was. Like I made a commitment and I do what I say I'm going to do. Simple. Like that is my identity. Like do what you say you're going to do. And I sat in front of our team and said, I'm going to do 250 workouts. And I've said it in years past, and I get to like 200 and it like fades because I wasn't accountable, right? Like, or I get sick for a week and I'm like, oh, and then that turns into 2 weeks. And I was like, nope, this is the year, 2024.
So what is something that you feel like people would be surprised to know about you?
I'm not this stoic onion, like
you are an onion.
But I'm not this stoic person. Like I actually like to have fun, and yet
that is true.
Yet, I come across to most people as it's like business PJ, which is like Alex Hormozy. I finally relate to somebody where he's like, I don't like all the things that we talk about. Like I like to go to the golf course. I like to go on the boat. Like he's like, no, I like to work. And I think at the end of the day, I really do like to work, and that personality, that shield of like, there's just been so many people that are like, I was scared of PJ. I was like, why were you scared of me? Like, I'm
but
driven.
Even at work is fun. Like work is fun. Like our environment is fun.
Oh yeah.
And you're fun in it.
Oh, absolutely. Like if you see me in the office in my normal environment, yeah, we're having fun.
Yeah.
I love it when somebody like, you know, we call strangers, and I love it when somebody tells me to F off, and I'm like, yeah, that's fuel, right? Or they're having a bad day, and it's like, all right, let's pop. What's really going on in your world, right? Like, but yeah, people are like, I was scared of you. I'm like, I am not a scary person.
Okay, I'll bring it around. So we talked about 1 year. Where is this going? Where is PJ going? And it can, as it relates to real estate, but what is your vision? What is your, 5 years from now, 10 years? Why are you doing this?
I think it's to continue to build community, build professionals that serve their clients I think that's one of my biggest gripes, that people don't take real estate necessarily like it's a true profession. I hate even saying that, right? Like if you're a lawyer or doctor, think about how much school you have to go through, or even a financial planner, right? Like there is some serious curriculum and vetting and testing, and then real life, right? Like practice, where they don't let you just like, hey, Jen, you want to go operate on somebody today? Or you want to go defend them in court, and let's just wing it, right? And in real estate, there's just so much winging it that drives me crazy. And so I want to build an amazing real estate team that when people think about, and I know I can speak for you on this too, right? Like I said, but it's really we. We're like the public knows like that's the standard, right? Like that's what should be happening in the real estate world. We go on a lot of listing appointments where we're competing with other agents, and I'm always curious, like why us over them? And some of the answers are just like I'm not going to talk about those on here because I'd never talk bad about an agent, but it was just like it just amazes me that people choose this business, and it's like, oh, well, I love houses and I love decorating and I love great pictures and I love social media, so real estate kind of fits that niche, and you're helping somebody with their largest asset. Like, take it freaking seriously a little bit while having fun, right? You got to have fun and you got to serve.
So outside of the real estate team and continuing to build that, what else?
Well, we own a staging and design company, so I love that aspect of it, right? Like how staging is parallel to real estate and how we know we can net somebody more money by staging. Look at the background behind me, right? This is a stage set. It just looks better. Mm-hmm. It just comes across crisp and clean, and we know that's going to net them the most amount of money. So staging and design, I've always loved new construction and not necessarily new construction in general, I would say, right? Like, funny enough, Stephanie asked me, like, we were on a boat and we were cruising in the Grand Canal, and she's like, do you just look at every house and see like the potential in it? And I was like, like every house that I'm like, we're just cruising. I'm like, all right, this is what I do, right? Like my brain is just wired to say like, how can we improve that real estate and maximize the return on that and that? So, I think that comes into how do we get into some investing and flipping, because that's essentially what it is, right? Title company, lender, like I think the challenge with our industry for a lot of real estate agents is we only control a third of the transaction because you have to have a title company and you have to have normally, right? Most of the time we're going to have some sort of lender involved. And so our third of the pie can be a seamless, beautiful transaction. And then you have title and lender over here that is like a dumpster fire. And then the customer comes out of that experience like, yeah, our team Platinum was great, but the rest of the experience was eh. So how do we improve like the total transaction for our client? I say this often too, like my mom was in banking, my dad was in construction, and those two industries haven't changed drastically. Like if you think about it, I can go down the street right here. I can go to the Porsche dealership, buy a $300,000 car in an hour, right? Like I walk in, that's my car. I'm paying sticker price. I'm not negotiating. Run my credit. Here's my money down. I'm driving that car off the lot, right? Like, and I could total a $300,000 car in 5 minutes, right? Jump on US 1, total a car.
It's not a great thought, PJ.
I know, but if I want to buy a $300,000 house, I have to wait 30 days, even if I'm cash, right? Not taking a loan, but in the car business, I can get a loan in an hour. In the housing world, I can get a loan. Now they're getting better. It's 11 to 12 days or something like that. But
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky, right? But on average, it's 30 days. And I got to go through this whole process. And it's a fixed asset that's sitting on the ground. Like there's no way, I guess I could burn it, like, but it's not the same as a car, right? And so why hasn't the banking world changed? And in the new construction world, we do a decent amount of new construction. You like bang your head against the wall. Like, how have we not improved this industry to where things don't go wrong in a house, right? Like, and it's very challenging. I get it. I've spent a lot of time. You don't know exactly if the plumber, did every joint correctly and it doesn't spring a leak and cause the house to flood, and right, like.
So you talking about all of this makes me think about place. Mm-hmm. And place is a challenging concept for a lot of people. And on every piece of our advertising, it says Platinum Group powered by place.
Yep.
So what is place? How did you get there?
We.
We're talking about you today.
It's still we.
We're talking about you today.
I did not make the decision by myself to join Place. Let's be crystal clear. I say it this way: Place is our company because we have partnered with Place, right? So first of all, it is we are a part owner in that company. It's a technology, mostly a technology and platform in which large teams can share resources, can share information, can share best practices. Really, at the end of the day, how do we serve the customer at a higher level, I think is always at the forefront of what Place is doing. So Place is 600 plus employees throughout the country, but mostly based in Seattle, Washington. They have every aspect of the business that we need to run our business without us having to sit down for a week and try and reinvent the wheel as a small independent. Like, I kind of think about it in some ways, if I'm explaining it to the general public, not necessarily to a real... It's kind of like a franchise situation, right? Like, we'll give you everything you need to run a successful business. You just got to go out and execute. And yet it's done at the highest level, right? So I don't know. I'm not big in the franchise world, but there's got to be some franchise, right, that is like at the highest level, recruiting the highest top talent, right? And so it's broker agnostic. So there's number one teams from 5 or 6 different brokerages. So when somebody like, what's Place? Well, it's the number one team. Like, everybody just wants to know who's number one. Well, number one in EXP, Keller Williams, Real, right? The list goes on and on. So it's an amazing, I think it's the connectedness of like-minded individuals on this mission to change the world through the dream of home ownership, right? Like,
so we've been with Place over 18 months.
Yeah.
Going on 2 years. How would you say Place has changed our business?
I think it empowered us to be better leaders, right? One of the mission, right? Leaders only. We show up better as leaders because we're surrounded by other leaders. We're partners with other leaders. It has removed a lot of the things that maybe took us a little bit longer than it should have, but we wanted to make sure it was right for the team, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I just look at the training aspect, the ability to plug into Brendan Burchard, who's freaking Oprah Winfrey's coach. Like, when do you get an opportunity to like sit down on a Zoom and be able to like ask him a question? Mm-hmm. Like, you wouldn't get that in a normal world. And then, and that's just one example, right? You got Ben Kenny and Chris Suarez. Like, how many times have we got an hour with one of those individuals or both of those individuals? Like, you would pay thousands and thousands of dollars for coaching like that. Right. Yeah. And it's like, this is my direct problem. How do I solve it?
Mm-hmm. Well, just last week we had a problem, reached out to Ben and Chris, and both of them were responding within minutes. Right. To when we could get on a call that we thought was going to be 10 minutes. We got on a call with Chris the next day, to which it was an hour. Right. With him.
Like, the average agent, I couldn't imagine what it. All right, no problem. Sit down with an hour. It's $1,000. And as a small business, that's, it's just an amazing platform. I don't have a single regret of Place. Like, and that's pretty impressive to say in a small business. Like, not one.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing organization, and can't wait to see what we do collectively.
I think too, just what it enables our agents to do and how they feel connected as a partner is just, it's just a different level of connectedness that I think you see agents have with brokerages. And
like, if you just talk about the launch program, which in the last 18 months has changed drastically, right? Like, when we went through launch versus what I see our new agents going through launch, it's 90 days of intense training, and it just keeps getting better and better. And for you and I to sit down and say, hey, let's retool launch and take away from our agents and our clients.
We just don't have the time. We just simply don't have the time.
Yeah. And so it's just this ever evolving, like,
improving.
Yeah. Fantastic. It's funny because we think about like, oh, we don't want another local team being part of a place, and yet I can't say that if I just also said like I want to see real estate agents become real estate advisors and experts, and if they plugged into the place world, that would
happen.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an amazing organization. I'm so grateful every day. They help me a ton with as the sales manager role, right? Like I used to spend 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday figuring out what we're going to cover on a Monday meeting, right? We train for 5 hours a week. I was thinking about that this morning. Like as a team, we train for 5 hours a week. So I'm not going to try and do math. 5 hours a week times, let's call it, even if we call it 48 weeks, because there are some Mondays that we miss. And so, right, like we spent in the last 10 years, we spent 100 days training, full days training. Mm-hmm. That's what's missing in our industry. We just, like how are we, Kaizen is the Japanese word that we were just talking about because Chris ran the Tokyo Marathon, right? Like the constant improvement. If you're not constantly thinking about, and that's how Toyota came into the U.S. market and destroyed like huge Ford, Chevy, because their word was Kaizen, like constant. Everything we do is for improvement, to become better.
Yeah.
So,
thanks for letting me crack the nut open a little bit there.
Pepper me with questions, and yet still, I probably still talked about business a good chunk of the time, but.
I tried to avoid it as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's part of who you are, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.